Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans alike, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago, one of the couple, two, three best podcasts around. So sit back, grab yourself a cold one and a Polish sausage, park your keister in the French room, and listen to Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose, as long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts, Alex and Sean. On this episode, we're going to be talking about the steaming pile of dog dookie that got dropped on that stupid field in Green Bay. But first, I want to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the Stars tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. Season is going to be starting in about a month. So there's plenty of time for you to head on over to icehogs.com, get yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, sign up for season tickets and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Oh, Alex, I was really hoping we would be having a completely different conversation than we're about to have.
You know, it's fitting. The Bills are playing at home right now. So you know what that makes me think of? Yeah. Yeah. Like, listen, let's just look at this for a sec. They pointed this out on 670 The Score today, and they're probably right.
I'm impressed that you could listen to sports radio today. I just didn't have it in me.
I didn't have it in me either, but I listened for like a few minutes during lunch. I'm like, okay, I kind of want to see what like Lawrence Holmes has to say. I usually, when I go into the office, I like to listen in the mornings. I really didn't want to, but I just listened to a small snippet. But they pointed this out on 670 The Score. And this is how I feel. This is probably how you felt. And I think that they're right with this. We didn't have the Bears winning this game when we made our predictions before the season, right? Like if you were making your Bears predictions, you looked at this game because, a lot of people, they go game by game, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. We didn't have the Bears winning this game. No. And you would probably agree that not a lot of Bears fans did have the Bears winning this game. Primetime Lambeau Field.
I would say it was pretty slim pickings finding a Bears fan that had them winning this game.
Right. Now, fast forward to week one. They win this game at home in the rain against a pretty good 49ers team.
Mm-hmm.
Football is such a roller coaster of emotions where week by week, everybody's outlooks and opinions change. They won last week. They rally. They adjust at halftime. Justin Fields throws some touchdown passes. All of a sudden, a lot of Bears fans are like, oh, look how Green Bay played. Look how we played. We could take this. Not everybody. I wasn't really one of them.
I was not.
Right. But some people were, right?
Yes.
So you had that mix of emotions from people who were riding high after the win, but now after the loss, it feels like it's rock bottom again. But okay, let's football aspect of it. If this was any game, the Rams, the Colts, whatever, it was some team that doesn't really have a big rivalry connection to the Bears, not the Packers, not the Vikings, not the Lions. If they lost that game in that fashion, would it be irritating to see only 11 pass attempts and 70 yards from your quarterback? Yes, but we see that all the damn time. If that was, any other team, the way they get beat like that, you just go, ew, that was gross. Let's forget it. But let's be real. Even if your expectations as a Bears fan were low, this Bears-Packers rivalry will bring out the most emotion out of anybody. So when you go out and watch the Bears, watching the same movie that they've played for you year after year after year since Brett Favre came in, the same exact movie every time. When you pretty much know what this movie is going to be, it doesn't matter. You watch the game with zero expectations, and when things go bad, we get mad. We get furious. We throw things. We punch the air. We swear. We're done with this. We're done with this team. You take away every logical thought you once had about the game and the matchup. Good team versus bad team. Let's be real. The Bears might play hard, but they are not the Packers yet. They are not a contending team yet, even if they play somewhat competitive. You go into that game against the Packers at Lambeau Field, and you play the Packers. All logic is off when the kickoff happens. You are meatball. You are in there. You are watching with full emotion. And when things go wrong, you get mad, even though you expect yourself not to beforehand, because you're like, I'm numb. I get it. I'm used to it. Next thing I know, I am saying things that I can't repeat here. I mean, the FCC doesn't control us, but you know what I mean, right?
It is the equivalent, the real life equivalent of Charlie Brown going to kick that stupid football, knowing damn well that Lucy's going to just yank it away and he's going to fall flat on his back.
That is the best analogy. The best analogy you can make right there.
That is literally us. All I hope for in that game, like it's a primetime game at Lambeau, game 2 of the season of this new regime where we still don't have our starting center. And like my goal was like, please just don't embarrass yourself. If the Bears had gone in there and lost, like I'm not even saying win, but lost and had it be competitive at the end, or, whatnot, just being a 7 to 10 point loss, but, not have anything embarrassing happen. You're like, I could live with that. Like, all right, listen, it's a measuring stick. We all were like, most Bears fans, even after week 1, said like, listen, we know that the Packers are better. Let's just be realistic about this. And just don't be embarrassing. And the first quarter, we didn't like the way that the Packers moved the ball so easily down the field, but we did like the offensive drive we had. We're like, okay.
The drive was beautiful. You established the run early. You had a nice little flea flicker. You didn't waste any time. The line was moving. I mean, you were looking good.
Right. I'm like, okay, I can handle this. They couldn't even give us half of a football game and be like, all right, that second quarter was a disaster.
Yeah.
Even the second half of the game, if you just took out the second quarter, it's a much different football game.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Hell, if they would have given Justin Fields the touchdown that he scored, it's a much more, closed game. And the Bears defense did okay. But this is what the Packers did on offense is exactly what I was expecting.
Roll you over.
After that first game where they got run out of town, they were going to smash the ball down our throats, run. And that's exactly what they did. And the Bears did everything they could to gear up and stop it. And they just really couldn't.
They just couldn't. They couldn't tackle. They couldn't. I mean, what did it say to you when you had a 2nd and 28 and next thing you know, they got a first down and Rodgers didn't even throw deep? It was just screens and runs and boom, there you go. You've just eaten 35 yards.
And I'm going to put this out there is Roquan Smith playing like dog shit.
That might have been the worst game he's had since, he had that rough sophomore year. So I'm going to say this is the worst game he's had since 2019. I mean, that was noticeable. In week 1, it looked like a guy who was just a little rusty and was playing on bad turf. Okay, this game, that was rough. And, you know, I hate to say it too, but Kyler Gordon, that was rough to watch.
You know, Chris Collinsworth said it. Listen, it is a rookie cornerback who had very little preseason in his second NFL game against a Hall of Fame quarterback and a former Pro Bowl wide receiver. Listen, things are going to happen. I'm not happy, but I think we all knew that we were going to have ups and downs with Kyler Gordon.
Right. I don't want to sound like I'm bashing him too much. I'm just saying.
Oh, he absolutely needs to get better. And there's a lot of things for him to watch and go, young man, you know, you've got all the athletic ability in the world, but you need to learn the speed of this game. But Chris Collinsworth said, he's like, listen, bad night. I expect really good things from this kid.
Yeah, no, I do too. That doesn't change my opinion on Kyler Gordon. It's very noticeable. And I'll give him credit for this. The first drive, he made that great play on that deep pass towards the end zone. That was far and away his best play of the night. And then, you know, he just got burned after that. And I mean, you know, it was one of those games where you can honestly say it's not like Rodgers pulled magic out of his hat. I mean, it was really just everything on the ground and the blocking and the scheming and just them bowling the Bears over. That's how they beat you. And I talked about this in the offseason before, that I was worried that that's what this defense was going to be doing, is that they were going to be surrendering a lot of yards on the ground, because I just don't think the defensive line is that strong. That's obviously going to be something they're going to need to address for next year. So, you know, when you're able to scheme like that correctly against the Bears, you know, that's going to give them some problems.
Yeah. I mean, defensively, it was tough. The tackle, it was the tackling. Honestly, if tackles were made on the first attempt,
it wouldn't have been nearly as bad.
It would not have been nearly as bad.
But you got to tackle. I mean, you just got to.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's conversion of 2nd and 28 doesn't happen with good tackling. You know, it's just the bad part is the play of the offense, and not even the entire play. It's the passing game. And it's what's frustrating is the Bears ran the ball exceptionally well.
Mm-hmm.
Then they just abandoned it. And the pass protection wasn't very good.
No, it was not.
It is. I mean, I can't think, other than the flea flicker, which was a successful play, I can't think of another play where Justin Fields had time to throw.
No, and I mean, you know,
you have the Packers have a very good secondary.
They do.
And your Bears, you know, don't have the best of wide receivers, but nobody had time to even run full routes.
Nobody was open. Yeah.
Because Justin Fields is under pressure. And it's a thing is you gotta give guys time for the play to develop. And, that's an Achilles heel. Do I think the offensive line is bad? No, but I think part of it is that it's, for as much as I like the coaching staff, the decision to put Lucas Patrick and swap reps with Tevin Jenkins is stupid.
I don't get it.
Like,
I don't get it.
I understand if you're trying to get some game reps in for Lucas Patrick because so he's ready to go once his thumb is good, but he should be the center once his hand is ready. Otherwise, he should just be sitting out. Stop wasting the spot on the team, you know, on game day. Is just put him as inactive on game day because he doesn't bring anything as the guard. You brought him in as your center Tevin Jenkins has played well. But you've got to pass protect better. And part of that is these guys, this is a very, very young offensive line. I mean, left tackle is a rookie. Right tackle is a second-year player. Right guard is a second-year player. The center, is this his third year in the league? And he was undrafted, current center. I mean, that's not a lot of time in the league, let alone time together to gel. Is their communication. They're good on the run plays. They have bruisers. They're all big, strong guys. But on the pass protection, it stunts and blitzes and just the pickups are getting missed. And Justin Fields is under pressure. And sure, there's some things where Justin Fields needs to be able to stand in the pocket a little better and step up and avoid the pressure. But the offensive line needs to help him a little more. There's just not enough time for him. And again, why didn't they roll him out more? It's like,
where are the bootlegs? Where's the play action? Where is it?
Is you saw something work on the first drive, you abandoned it. And you saw something work in the second half last week and you didn't do it. Is this Matt Nagy again? I know. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. And I was waiting at the end of the game for them to say, we've got to figure out the whys.
Sean, this is something I want to say. This goes beyond just this game in Green Bay, but just in general. I would have been much more satisfied, even if they lost. If they would have lost a shootout, if your defense gets cooked, but you're scoring and you're getting yards and you're getting big chunks on the ground and you're throwing downfield, then I'd feel so much better. But what was so infuriating is, once again, here we are, seemingly the only football team on the planet that cannot put together 300+ yard passing games for our lives. How come random people on the Jets can do it when they're filling in? You could go to any team in the NFL. They can do this. They can move the ball, and we can't. And it was like this week. It was like this with Matt Nagy all those years. It was like it with John Fox. It was like it with Mark Trestman in his second year. It just doesn't change. It's the same movie with different people.
It is infuriating. It's so infuriating. I'm not abandoning, Justin Fields. I still think he has it in him, but it's things have to be done. Like I read a tweet saying that the Bears didn't put weapons around Justin Fields because they want to build this team differently. Okay, get it. But you're going to live with growing pains of that then. And we knew that. Like, you've got a young offensive line. You've got, wide receivers that a lot of people called the worst group in the league. Okay, you got to live with that. And you either have to carry that or prove them wrong. And right now they're doing neither. They're trying not to carry it, but they're not proving it wrong either. I just need to see them establish who they are, who their identity is. I think that's important. Is if we're going to be a run first team, all right, run first team, and minimize the number of throws. Okay, I can live with that, but make those throws count. Roll our quarterback out. Don't just stick him in the pocket and when he's just going to get beat up. Roll him out. Let him have, use his athleticism. That's what I want to see. And, it's this game was magnified by an opponent that has like juju, bad magic, witchcraft over us, and it's on a primetime game. And for the love of God, why in the world does the league keep putting the Bears and the Packers on prime time?
Because it's Bears Packers. It's the original rivalry. No one sees this as a rivalry anymore. Green Bay doesn't see this as a rivalry. They laugh at you.
No,
every year.
Their rival, honestly, is the 49ers.
And the Vikings. And the Vikings can beat them.
Yeah,
the Lions can beat them.
The Lions look good this week.
They did. You want to know something that's crazy? They got weapons. They can score.
Yeah, but I mean, here's what the Lions though is. The Lions were terrible last year, and then they took the off season. They're like, okay, we took our lumps, and we're establishing what we want to do, and now they've added some weapons. And for the Bears, I mean, the Bears are kind of where the Lions were last year. Is this off season, we're going to have our full lineup of draft picks. And honestly, it would be very easy for the Bears to get up to like $125 million in cap space easily. And that's a lot of money. It's a whole lot of money to be able to spend and get better. You can get weapons. You can fill the gaps in where you're talent deficient. If you're the Bears, honestly, is Roquan, if Roquan's going to play like this, why in the number one, if you're expecting to get the richest linebacker contract in history and you play like this, LOL.
Yeah.
Saint Omni is not advising you well if that's how you're doing things. You better play a whole lot better. And honestly, if this is what you're going to get, the Bears would be smart. Nah, sorry, we'll pass.
Sean, here's what really got me yesterday before the Bears game. Watching all these other teams come back and win, whether it was the Dolphins or, the Cardinals, did comeback wins, high scoring games. Teams have weapons. You know how the Vikings roasted the Packers the other week? You got a guy named Justin Jefferson on your team.
Yeah.
The Dolphins have Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Every team has weapons but us.
Tua is not that great. Tyreek Hill is just amazing.
Yes.
And the other guy they got is really good too. The other wide receiver. They've got two really good wide receivers, but Tyreek Hill is a game changer.
We don't have a game changer. We haven't had a game changer since Brandon Marshall. You can maybe argue Allen Robinson in year one, but even so, the offense wasn't that great then. You've had solid years of running with Jordan Howard, solid years of running with David Montgomery. But the only time you truly had offensive weapons in my lifetime was when you had Jeffrey and Marshall. And, you could add Matt Forte in the mix. That's it. Look at the Super Bowl year. It was all on the defense. Devin Hester was
Muhsin Muhammad.
Oh my guy, Muhsin Muhammad. Yeah. And, maybe you could put Greg Olsen in that type too. You can maybe include Greg Olsen there too. But listen, when you have guys that, they're not going to beat a defender one-on-one. You can scheme them open and they can catch the ball when you throw it to them when they're schemed open. But teams have game changers. They are the ones that go beyond schemes, that go beyond what the other team is doing to you, and they beat you single-handedly. And we continue to not have that. And it feels like we're the only one. Did you see what the other St. Brown brother did for the Lions?
Yeah.
Yesterday? You see what Justin Jefferson does every week. You see what Jamar Chase does every week. You see what Cooper Kupp does every week. You see what DK Metcalf does every week, what George Kittle does every week. You can go on and on and on, and none of these guys are ever on the Chicago Bears. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. And we knew going this season we weren't going to have that, but damn it, when you see it week after week with every other team, even the worst of teams, there's a guy that could change the game, but on the Bears.
Yeah, it's just really frustrating.
Who's the number one fantasy guy for the Bears? Is it Dave Montgomery? I drafted Cole Kmet. That hasn't worked out.
I mean, honestly, it's probably Eddie Jackson right now.
Yeah, if you draft individual defenders.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's like there's, don't play anybody on the Bears in a fantasy league.
When's the last time there's been a Sunday where fantasy owners were jumping up and down because they had a Chicago Bear on their team?
It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
Even like Allen Robinson, like who was really good in 2018. You compare him to some of the other receivers in football. I mean, you compare him to like Devontae Adams. It's not even close. Even when Allen Robinson was really good.
Hey, quick question for you. It's just tangent. Why are there two competing Monday Night Football games?
I don't know. I don't like that. It's weird.
I liked previous years when you had two Monday night games, like the first week, where like one was like you got home from work and you're like, oh hey, the game is on, and then you had the other one afterwards. Thumbs up. I like that. But
yeah, that was good.
Games, don't like.
I mean, unless you're a big fan of the split screen, but
Yeah, no. But there was so many things that in this game just fed into the frustration. We all knew, well, anybody that paid attention knew exactly what the Packers were going to do. We saw them do it last year, where after they got run out of the building the first game, they pounded the ball on the ground for that next game. They told you they were going to do that. We have a history of them doing that. And so we knew what they were going to do, and they did it. And Aaron Rodgers was able to do some Aaron Rodgers things. I mean, he didn't need to do a whole lot of them. The refs were making bad calls again against the Bears. And it's on a primetime game, and we couldn't do anything on offense. It was just every trigger point that there is. And it just all happened in one game. And you're just like, all right, must be Packers week. This is just what happens.
Well, and again, I go back to that whole thing about, this Bears Packer thing just being the same movie every year for 30 years, same movie every year. And it almost looks like you get to the point in the game where the Bears know it's that movie, where they're outmatched and they know they're outmatched.
But what's crazy is like, all right, we talked to, as far as baseball, it's like, oh man, the Cardinals just have the Cubs number, Cardinals. And then you got this like young team that was like, we don't know anything about this. And they just went out there and won. You're like, okay, at what point does that happen? We have a new front office. We have a new coaching staff. We have all new players, and they still fell victim to it. How does that happen? It's like, it's just like the dirty, like it's like something in the air. It's just like you can't. It's like if Aaron Rodgers came and played for the Bears and he started throwing 4 picks in a game against the Packers. Like how does that happen?
Right. And, again, this is why I mentioned the previous regimes earlier, and it all comes back to that Bears Packers same movie thing, different year, different faces, same movie. look back at Mark Trestman, the historic embarrassment on national television. John Fox had his one Thanksgiving win, and that was it with that. The other two were blowouts. And then 2018, we all know how the Matt Nagy era started, and you won the division one year, but still you never won at Lambeau Field under Matt Nagy. You haven't won at Lambeau Field since 2015. And it all looks the same. It all looks exactly the same. They can't move the ball. They can't really execute. And as soon as something happens, one thing goes wrong, it is just the floodgates open. And it's merciless. It is absolutely merciless. And then the Bears know they're screwed. Like they know they're screwed. They don't necessarily stop playing, but you can tell that they know that they are the weakling on that field. And Green Bay, they just, to them, it feels like a scrimmage probably. Like they know we're in their heads. They know that they're just going to outmuscle you and everything's going to work out fine and dandy. Everybody in the building knew what was going to happen. I mean, the Packer fans, you think they broke a sweat when the Bears took a 7-3 lead? I don't think there was a single worried Packers fan in that stadium. Not one. They okay, come back and score, and then stop them and score them again and score them again and score them again.
Aaron Rodgers is 23-5 against the Bears in his career.
Mm-hmm.
The last time the Bears beat the Packers by more than one score was half a decade ago.
Wow. Yeah.
Half a decade ago. So it's mind-boggling. Oh wait, I take that back.
I think actually, when I think back at it now, wasn't it like 2007?
Yeah, this chart I was looking at actually had it wrong. Let's see.
Because Thanksgiving 2015, they won 17-13. When they won the division in 2018, that was 24-17.
Yep.
2013, I believe, was by one score, by 7. 2010 was one score. And the time before that, 2007, I think it was that game, Brett Favre's final start as a Packer at Soldier Field when Urlacher pick-sixed him.
Yeah, I mean, even when the Bears win these games, they're close. 17-13, 24-17.
I believe 27-20 was 2013. Could be wrong on that.
Jesus, it's just so frustrating. And I don't even know, like I don't want to overreact. There was a very good chance that what happened yesterday was going to happen.
Oh yeah. It was, I mean, there was a reason that the money line was like 10 points.
And, we got the win against the 49ers. We're in plus territory of where we thought we would be.
Mm-hmm.
The next two games, I believe, are the Texans and the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, you feel much more confident. Like the Texans are not very good. And the Giants aren't very good. Sure, the Giants, I think they're 2-0, but they haven't scored more than 19 points, I believe. But they're all running game is stack the box, make them beat you with the pass. I don't think they can. So there's a realistic shot that we start this season 3-1, which is a hell of a place to be. It just sucks that that this loss marred everything. But I think against the Texans, we really need to see something from Justin Fields and the Bears.
See him throw, roll him out, bootleg,
Yep.
play action, let him throw. He's not going to learn by throwing 11 passes.
Yeah. If we see a whole lot of what we saw in the second half of that 49ers game, okay. You know, we need to see growth. We need to see progression. You know, there was a time when we're like, all right, Trubisky's the guy, and then suddenly he wasn't the guy, and then he went to Buffalo, and somehow everyone thought he was going to be the guy again after he just sat behind, Josh Allen for a year, and now he's in Pittsburgh, and everyone in Pittsburgh's like, oof, we want to play the rookie with small hands.
Yeah.
You look at Pittsburgh, and what's the old saying? If you got two quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback. What is it when you have three quarterbacks? You really have no quarterbacks.
Yee. We know that pain too well. Meanwhile, the Buffalo Bills are just like throwing dimes and just moving the ball downfield at mercy. You want to talk about a quarterback you'd want to have? Josh Allen.
Can I say though? I'm old enough to remember Josh Allen's first couple of years in the league where everyone was like, this guy is not an NFL quarterback. He's a bust.
Oh yeah, of course.
So what people say and the reality of the situation don't mean anything. We just need to get the kid there.
Right.
And the coaching staff needs to help him. They need, and part of that is, let's call better plays. Let's fix the pass blocking schemes. And, there's a lot of film in there where you're just like, man, this kid is under pressure. Rashawn Gary is eating Larry Borum's lunch. It's just been tough. Really, really tough.
It has. It has. And, I'm just going to go back to the emotional part of yesterday's game, how it was elevated by playing the rival that has absolutely drilled you into the dirt the past 30 years. I think there's something to be said when you watch this unfold for the 10 billionth time. And you've seen how many faces, you saw Cutler, you saw Trubisky, you saw Glennon, now you see Fields. When you go through quarterback after quarterback, scheme after scheme, and, you're watching it and you ask yourself, how is it possible that absolutely nothing can change, how it continues to look the same with the same faces? And what I pray is that we have a regime that is more willing to make the major adjustments needed, because this was only week 2 of this new regime. It was only week 2, and how they learn, how they adjust is going to be a big test. I mean, what you hope for is that this is a big kick to the mouth and they realize, hey, what we were doing was not working. And what we need to do is, this, and this, because you just can't keep having this same movie play out, whether it's against the Packers or against anybody else, where you just continue to have a team that struggles so mightily just to move down the field. I mean, moving down the field is like brain surgery and rocket science put into one for the Bears. And any other team can do it, even the worst of teams. Like I said, you can have teams like the Jets get 300 plus yards of offense. They do it. They can do it. We've seen them do it. And pretty much everyone else. I mean, I say against the Texans, just open it up. Let Justin Fields throw 25 plus times.
Yeah.
Let him throw more than that if you want. Let him make mistakes. Let him learn what it's like to throw in different situations with different schemes covering to read. You got to do it.
what's funny is the interception was probably the least angering thing that happened. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
you watch that, and that was just an amazing play. That was just an absolutely, you go, all right, that's the reason that they pay that cornerback $20 million, because that was incredible. Like, there's no way I expected that. I mean, even Chris Collinsworth, who played for a long time, I believe he's in the Hall of Fame, and has been an announcer for a long time. And he's just like, I'm shocked at that. He was marveling at the play. Like, okay, if a guy makes an amazing play, one of the elite cornerbacks in the league makes an amazing play, that's a highlight reel play, and you threw an interception, okay, happens. It's, but I want to see Justin Fields just air it out, ball out, live and die by that. It's, if you want to be a run team and play good defense, that's fine too, but figure out your identity. You can't be, hey, we're going to pound the ball the first drive and then just give up on it. And you can't do that. It's, if you're not going to just be a pound the ball team, then you need to give Justin Fields the opportunities to start throwing.
Yep. Yep. I know you're a ground and pound team, run first, speed in the trenches, blah, 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 blah. But if you're going to have a future with your quarterback, you got to let him do it. You got to let him throw. You got to let him be in all sorts of situations, utilize him at his maximum strengths. He's not going to learn by just thinking, and he's got to do it.
So I'm looking at the PFF scores, the Pro Football Focus scores,
Oh boy,
individual players. And we talked about how bad Kyler Gordon, a game he had. Roquan Smith's score was the same as Kyler Gordon's. That's how bad he played. Roquan Smith's coverage in his PFF grade in pass coverage was 29.5.
I was really hoping it was like 0 so I could pull out a blue Tarski.
0.0. Yeah. Like the three worst defenders on the field were Angelo Blackson, Kyler Gordon, and Roquan Smith. Just
no mas.
I mean, all you could, we knew that there would be games where the Bears, like, all right, I've said this before, if the Bears lose because they're out talented, like, all right,
that's expected at times.
It's expected because we knew that would happen. I just don't want to be out coached. I don't want to commit more penalties than the other team, which is impossible when the Bears play the Packers, because the Bears get called for things like a illegal, what is it?
Like an illegal contact.
Illegal contact where there was no contact.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Like, that's what happens. Like, oh, whew, gotta call a flag somewhere. But you play smarter, play harder, and the Bears didn't. They didn't play smarter. They didn't play harder, and they don't have the talent to compete. And that's part of the problem. Is, there's going to be games where if you lose, you're playing hard, and if you're like, oh, hey, listen, we just couldn't. If the game would have been lost because, like, hey, listen, we couldn't stop the run, but they were making the tackles, and it wasn't yards after contact and things like that, and they just still couldn't stop the run. Okay, you know what? Then that just goes in the bucket of, here are positions where we need to upgrade next year.
Right.
Okay, you live with that. Sorry, we couldn't stop Aaron Jones. Every time he'd hit the hole, we would tackle him right away. But he would go forward for 5-6 yards. All right. We did our best. But missing tackles, bad coverage, those are just stupid things where players aren't playing well, and you can't live with that. Those things need to be fixed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've been preaching that all off season.
And even the Bears early clearly wanted to take away the run. They were worried about the run, and they went right off the bat into a single high safety to bring an extra guy down to play the run. And when that happened, Aaron Rodgers just picked them apart. And then when they went to 2 high safeties, the Packers were able to run the ball. And I don't even think the defensive line played that bad. It's those linebackers didn't fill the gaps. I'm old enough to remember when you'd have the Bears playing like that, and the running back would be trying to string it out to the outside, and Lance Briggs would go through a gap and make the play for a loss or a minimal gain. And I kept waiting for Roquan Smith to do that. Like, this is the same defense. This is literally where he's supposed to knife in and make the play and blow it up for a no gain or a 1 to 2 yard loss rather than an 8-yard pickup.
Yeah, no, I mean, what you said about the linebackers is definitely right. And I know earlier I was talking about the defensive line, which is still a concern of mine, but when your linebackers can't take them down, then yeah, I mean, that was the particular problem yesterday.
The Bears are getting pressure on the quarterbacks. They just need to be able to wrap up. The linebackers we need upgraded linebackers. It's crazy to have Roquan Smith on your team and be like, yeah, we need to upgrade linebackers, because I'm just disgusted. I'm glad he didn't get the contract that he wanted, because this is the way he's going to play. Not worth it. Not worth it. It's just frustrating. And this team needs to add playmaking cornerbacks. Jaylon Johnson is very good. I think Kyler Gordon is going to be very good, but after that, it just really bottoms out.
Yeah, you're going to need a lot more. I mean, you're going to need depth. You're going to need, I'd say, another good one. I mean, it's hard, especially, I mean, if somebody gets hurt, then it's really looking bleak.
I mean, if Jaylon Johnson were to go down with an injury, whew,
yeah, no bueno. No bueno.
I mean, can you imagine having to play the Vikings without Jaylon Johnson?
Yeah, you're probably losing 38-14.
It's just really frustrating. And I don't want to jump to too many conclusions, because this is one game against the Packers. If we don't look significantly better against the Texans,
that's a problem. I mean, that's a problem.
That's a problem. Absolutely.
We're mad about Green Bay because we're tired of losing to them. But we know that if they were any other contending team, we would just be like, yeah, guess what? A much superior football team beat us. It is just magnified by the fact that it was the Packers.
Right. But we have the Texans coming to town. And Lovie Smith coming here for the first time since he was fired, which is interesting. And
no, he was here in 2014.
Oh, I forgot he was.
He coached the Buccaneers.
And I expect the Bears to do well because it's going to be raining that day.
Of course it is. Goodness.
Bear
weather is now rain, my friends.
My friends, the little sprinkle is now Bears weather.
It's the blessed water of Ditka.
It's Papa Bear Hallis crying over this team.
Why, oh, why is my family doing this to my precious team? He sits there at the end of the bar in heaven and sobs.
I mean, not to be morbid, but Virginia is running out of opportunities to see the Bears beat the Packers.
Yeah, she is.
I mean, again, not to be morbid, the woman she's older than the Queen of England.
Mm-hmm. Who was just laid to rest today, R.I.P. Apparently, 61% of the world population watched that, by the way.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why do people care about that stuff?
I mean, it's a historical event.
Not my cup of tea.
Pun intended.
But yeah, I mean, Virginia McCaskey was born before the Queen was born, and she's still alive after the Queen is dead. And the Queen was old. Like that, this yesterday may very well have been the last Bears Packers game that Virginia ever sees, and got embarrassed again. Like some point to just be like, listen, we got to win one for this lady. This lady can't go down without seeing us beat Aaron Rodgers.
I know. And you know how much it means to her. And you got to sit and watch this all the time.
It's just frustrating.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. But the Texans are on the docket for this coming week. And geez, I don't even know who they look terrible against the Broncos.
And the Broncos didn't look so good either.
No, man. I don't know if you follow any or read any of Broncos Twitter, but Nathaniel Hackett, they want to run that dude out of town already.
They were at the game counting the clock down. The crowd was actually counting down the shot clock for him, or the play clock. No joke.
Yeah,
I mean, I couldn't believe that Seattle game.
You bring in Russell Wilson, who is a Hall of Fame quarterback, and you totally don't know how to use that guy.
No, and then you have a minute left, 3 timeouts, 4th and 5. You let the clock run down for some reason with 3 timeouts, call a timeout, and then kick like a 65-yard field goal or whatever it was. Do you know that the chances of you converting 4th and 5 are monumentally larger than converting the field goal at that distance?
Yeah, especially when you have Judy and Sutton as quarterbacks, or wide receivers, and Russell Wilson as quarterback. Like you can get that not that hard of a 4th down.
It's not like it's 4th and 14. It's 4th and 5.
Yeah. So, I'm not particularly scared of the Texans running attack or their quarterback or any of their wide receivers.
I mean, on paper, this should be a get right game, but it is the NFL, so you never know.
Yeah. I mean, their defense is probably pretty decent. What they do week 1?
Week 1, they tied with the Colts.
The Colts are bad, though.
The Colts look bad.
Man.
They look bad. And I'm sorry to all my Colts fan friends who listen to this show, but yay.
Yeah. I mean, I feel bad because that's a team that was supposed to be a playoff contender, and they just got routed by the Jaguars.
Matt Ryan got picked off several times, and
three times.
Yeah, not good.
His quarterback rating was 34.
Yikes. I mean, look, every year. This year they had Matt Ryan. Last year they had Carson Wentz. The year before they had Phillip Rivers. The year before they had, I think it was Jacoby Brissett. They've just been going through guys ever since Andrew Luck retired.
I know. They're probably like, please, Andrew, come back. Because he's not even that old.
No, he's not. I think, you know what, it's almost to the point where it's like, you know what, maybe you just tank for one of those quarterbacks.
Kind of, that's what they're doing.
I mean, you don't want to tank in that division necessarily because the Titans are flawed. The Texans are no good. And even though the Jaguars continue to beat you, I think they're better than last year than the Urban Meyer debacle, but I still don't think they're a powerhouse yet.
Can I just, you brought up a name in Urban Meyer who is an absolute garbage person.
Just a slimy bugger.
Apparently, the University of Nebraska is now courting him.
Oh no. They already are in just absolute disaster. Let's make things 10 times worse.
They're like, okay, maybe you get a few wins for a couple seasons, but the minute he turns that around, he's parlaying that into something better. He doesn't want to be in Nebraska. And you have to eat all of the garbage nonsense that he brings with. And you're going to catch so much heat because that guy is a terrible person.
Yeah, keep him the heck away from here.
And I was listening to like a national sports radio show, and they were like, you know, everybody deserves a second chance. Like, that dude's have like 10 chances.
I was going to say, this ain't his first rodeo.
And you know, terrible person. Like, and he bails on his teams. He bails on his teams, and he's a terrible person. Like, why the heck do you want him? And you know, at what point do you stop getting chances?
Well, sometimes in sports, you're never limited to chances. Let's be real.
Truth.
I just don't know why you would want to deal with that, to carry that baggage. But what do I know?
So the question is, do you want to talk a little baseball, or do we call this a night because the Bears were energy drainers?
The Cubs have nothing to play for. The Sox have a huge series coming up against Cleveland. The Sox season pretty much lies within the next week or so. They got their top pitchers going. If the Sox can sweep, then this is a whole different season. They get the tiebreaker, and they're only one game back, and they can win the division, but they got an uphill battle. It's going to be interesting to see over the next few days. And the Cubs continue to suck, like I said, and that's about all I got for baseball.
I mean,
anything to add?
I mean, it's funny. The White Sox right now, if you look at the calculations, they have a 14% chance of making the playoffs. 14% chance. But they've got a 3-game set this week in Chicago at home against Cleveland. You could just completely erase almost all of that lead. Yeah, depending on what Cleveland does tonight.
They already won today.
Oh, they did?
They did, yes.
Oh, okay.
It's a 4-game lead now. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you got 4-game lead. You could almost wipe it all out. And, you know, and the question is Tim, so you got Tim Anderson that's almost ready to return. And if you don't do really well in this series, is it worth bringing him back? Like, I mean, if you get swept by Cleveland or you lose 2 or 3, you're done.
Yeah,
right? You're cooked.
Yeah. If you get swept, I mean, your chances are pretty much 0.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they almost have to sweep the Guardians.
Yeah, I mean, if you win 2 out of 3, you are still hanging on by a thread. Makes it a little tougher because the Guardians have the tiebreaker then. If you sweep, it's a whole new season. It really is a whole new season. And that gives you a lot of momentum. If you get swept, forget it.
If you're swept or you lose 2 or 3, I mean, forget it. Because you lose 2 or 3, then you're down 5 games. And they've got 9 of their last 12 games are against the Kansas City Royals and the Texas Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you pretty much have to win this series.
Yeah.
And it's a bad time for Michael Kopech to go on the 15-day disabled.
Yeah. I mean, luckily the Sox were able to rearrange their players, their rotation in a good fashion. You got your top 3 guys going. You got Cease, Cueto, and Lynn. You can win those games. It's, it's could be tough, obviously, but there is some path for the Sox as it stands right now. It's going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah, we will know. Was that game series Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll know Thursday afternoon if this team has any shot at all.
Right. They could have a very good shot, or they could have none at all.
As far as Cubs, Frank Schwindel gone, got rid of the Frank the Tank. Not surprising. I wish him the best.
Me too. Cheers for last year, but I mean, it was pretty clear that was a flash in the pan. And he's worked hard. He's had a great attitude. He's been great with the fans. So yeah, I absolutely wish him the best. But we're approaching a new off season, and there's going to be a lot done here.
And then the last thing I want to say with the Cubs is I'm going to throw some names out there of young pitchers that are either on the active roster, were on the active roster or injured, or are guys that could very well likely be on the team next year. And I want to get your opinion on if you think they're a building block, or they are not, and where you see them fitting on this team.
Okay.
Albert Alzolay.
I think he is a reliever long term. So yes, part of this.
Javier Assad.
I think he's earned a shot next year to get a look, but long term, I think the jury's still out on that.
Jeremiah Estrada.
Maybe.
Brandon Hughes.
Maybe.
Manuel Rodriguez.
Maybe.
Hayden Wisniewski.
Yes. His stuff is good. I saw it the other day live. He's got a dog in him.
Caleb Killian.
Yes.
Ryan Jensen.
No.
Jordan Wicks.
Yes.
So Wicks.
You know what? I'll redo Ryan Jensen. I could say maybe.
So Wicks, Killian, Wisniewski, 3 definite yeses.
Add Alzolay into there 4.
Okay. So that means, honestly, the Cubs could put together a nice starting rotation next year.
Oh, they can, but I definitely still think you need to sign a decent free agent.
Oh, absolutely. But the question then comes is, all right, we all think they will, and we all know they should sign a front end starting pitcher. Okay. So say they do that.
Mm-hmm.
They bring in what would be for them a number 1 guy, but he might be a 2 or 3. You still have Stroman.
Mm-hmm.
You have all these young guys.
Mm-hmm. Justin Steele.
Yep. Keegan Thompson. What do you do with Kyle Hendricks?
I think he stays. He's under contract. He's got no trade value. Make him your 5.
So are you willing to take innings away from young guys for him?
I mean, here's the thing.
I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm just curious. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because you do have guys that you need to give starts and innings to. And Kyle Hendricks is, for, regardless of what he's done for the Cubs in the past, and he is not the future.
Oh, I agree. It's just, the thing is, when you're under contract, you have no value. It's hard for me to imagine them just cutting him and eating the money, like DFAing or whatever, trading him for maybe down the road something changes, but in terms of opening day next year, I would put my bet that he's on this roster. Because some of your young guys might not be ready to start yet. So like, you could be going into opening day next year, Jordan Wicks might just not be quite ready yet. Yeah, maybe have a placeholder for another guy, because Stroman's an absolute going to be in your rotation. That Justin Steele should be there. I mean, those are two definite guys. I think Wesneski is going to be in that rotation as well. So, and then you have a Kyle Hendricks, and then that fifth, maybe you sign that big free agent, and then maybe you go with a 6-man rotation and you just kind of work things out from there. I don't know, because with Alzolay, he's going to be a reliever in my opinion. I think Keegan Thompson is a swing man. So it's going to be interesting to see.
You need a swing man.
Yeah, you do. I think you need two of them.
And I think Keegan Thompson is a great swing man.
I think so too. I think he's, he can come out, pitch multiple innings. If he needs to make a start, he needs to make a start. So I think that it's good to have those kind of guys on the roster.
I'm looking at Kyle Hendricks, and so he's under contract for next year, but the year after that, he has a vesting option with a buyout.
Right.
I do not see them taking that option. They're going to buy him out for the 1.5.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really expect him to do what he used to do next year. I don't expect him to be the guy he once was. I hope he could play a little better, but I'm not expecting 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020 Kyle Hendricks. So yeah, he might just be an odd man out when we go forward.
Yeah. It's a bummer, but it's one of those things.
Yep.
Father Time gets everybody except Tom Brady.
Yeah, though Tom Brady looks a little scary now.
I know, he really does. Did you watch that game at all?
The Buccaneers
Saints?
I saw like the first half and it was really boring, so I didn't see the second half.
So you didn't see the fight?
I saw the recap of the fight. I didn't see it as it happened live. I know Evans got suspended for it.
Did you hear what Evans said to the ref?
No, that I didn't know what he said.
He's like, what did you expect me to do? He went after Tom Brady. I mean, he leveled that dude. And that is not the first time those two have gone at each other, is Evans and Lattimore. Man, like I've seen some people dislike each other, but those two, man, they hate each other.
Yeah, it's blood boil right there.
Yeah, it was funny. I was like, this game is boring. And I went to go get a drink of water, and I could hear, and there's a fight on the field. I'm like, really? The one thing happens that I walk out of the room.
Oh, they were just waiting for you to leave so something cool would happen.
Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I think I've said my piece.
This was it. I don't feel better, but I feel less angry. So this was good.
Get it off the chest.
Yeah. Talk about it. But that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. I want to thank everybody so much for listening. Please hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, etc. Share this podcast with your friends. That's how we grow the show. Follow us on social media at Swerski Sports, Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com. ShyFanPat2 on Twitter for Alex, or AlexanderJPatCreative.com for all the cool stuff that Alex does. And thank you guys all so much for listening. And Until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like Remember, New Yorkers, smoking crack is not legal on planes.
Bears 31 to -7.
The Bears. Oh, when the Bears go bearing down, I wanna